Guru Nation, welcome to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. This is our office, away from the office. We wish this was our everyday office. We're in LA doing some business meetings. We got Bill from BioClinica. We just met at DIA, which was last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago in San Diego. He's from BioClinica. You read the book, right?
I listened to the audio.
Listen to the audio. That's our best product right now. The $17, the best $17 you will ever spend in the industry.
Actually, it's free if you go on Audible and just join for a month.
Oh, you're seeing? It's free. Even better than...
Yeah,
I just made $12 off of these guys.
Unbelievable. So Bill saw us there. He pulled us apart. We didn't do an interview there.
No, you did it with
Janine.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're doing one with you. You happen to be in LA again.
Yep.
So after DIA, you went back home.
Yep.
And then you came back.
I did.
Unbelievable. You travel the world with BioClinica.
I am a globetrotter.
So introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And then we're going to get into how you got started in clinical research.
Sure. I'm Bill Leone. I'm the Global Vice President for BioClinica for our software solutions. Everyone knows us for medical imaging. We are the world's largest medical imaging company. As you guys know, we own a site network as well. We do PV as well, but I manage all the software clients and the software services. And so everything from clinical adjudication, which is Janine's forte.
We did a video on that.
Yep, CTMS. We do payment solution, which is absolutely incredible.
I didn't know you guys do that.
We do. Actually, it's funny, on your podcast book, shameless plug, you guys talked about how sites are usually about 3 months from broke most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's something that we and that's something that we actually help with, because we actually provide a solution that can kind of get around the process where you're giving CROs a huge escrow.
Quicker payments, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's immediate.
We never talked about this, and you're more in the trenches now when it comes to payments than me. Mm-hmm. When I started, it was like payments was horrible. I think they've made a lot of improvements.
They have.
Isn't it quicker now?
Well, the first payment takes a long time to get.
Right.
Regardless.
But after that, it's more regular now.
With most companies. Most companies, whatever your contract states, whether it be 1 month or 3 months, plus or minus 20 days, they're within their contract for the most part.
Well, we have, and I hate that this is very salesy to say this, but we have a very unique best-in-breed solution. That's not why we're here to talk about it, but it's amazing because it has milestones that are triggered right from your protocol. So as you screen this many people, or screen this many subjects, you get a payment immediately. It's wired immediately. So as you hit these milestones, it's immediate.
That's very beneficial in terms of newer companies, right? Newer research companies, which are definitely 3 months from broke. They can't wait for that payment that can take 6 months. That initial payment.
Well, but then also the value to sponsors you become the sponsor of choice, because sites say, we know we're getting paid like this from those guys, we're in.
Right.
And it also it's a great solution for CROs as well.
Especially in the current market we're in, where there's such a high supply of studies. Like when I started, it was similar, but then it took a turn where there was like a shortage of studies, so sites would do anything to get a study. Now we're in the marketplace again because of the economy, where there's more studies than there are sites, so sites are being pickier again.
Oh, absolutely.
So these are even more important now for the sponsors.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think site saturation is definitely a problem. You could have the best oncology site in LA, but if you got 50 studies going on in your site, you don't have the bandwidth to do anymore. Mm-hmm. And so people, that's where feasibility comes in, because people don't realize there's feasibility that's never accurate, because you have to do it's not, because
no, of course not.
No, it's
sites selling themselves. They're doing some sales.
It's funny though, because you guys talked a lot about RBM in your book, and it's funny because as we kind of joked earlier, I used to be in wine and beer. Everything goes through cycles, and so when I was in wine and beer, that movie Sideways was made, and the guy has a
it made Pinot Grigio so popular,
and it
killed that movie.
And it killed Merlot. Do you know the Merlot sales went down 60%?
Really?
Because he said F Merlot, but he only said it because it was due to his girlfriend liked it and he didn't want to drink it anymore.
Right.
And when people heard that, they stopped buying Merlot. Huh. And so in this industry, the parallel is that
funny how that works.
It is. It's marketing, and I feel that. But it's funny how that works for RBM. That was the hot topic like 3 years ago,
And now,
and I think
no more.
no more. But I think it's still so relevant because it's monitoring is
So
what
it's either
60%
no
of what
longer
cost to a study.
it's either no longer the hot topic because they're not using it, or they've already implemented it and it's now just called monitoring. It's just part of monitoring now.
It's not, because I don't think anybody was doing it well. And then that's the problem. And we had a solution. We were partnering with somebody.
It's
and
just
they
like
did it
virtual
okay.
trials. They think
Yeah.
virtual trials are going to change things. We just did our last podcast on clinical research still has a branding problem when it comes to patients.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we would do a thing right now where we ask
More
all
than a
12
dozen
of
now.
these people here, yeah, maybe there's 20 people here, do you want to join a study? 95% of them would say, no, I don't want to be a guinea pig, right? So no technology is going to change that.
Well, but and also, and I'm not being paid, but also in your book you did talk about that a lot, and I found that part very intriguing. That patient recruitment. If you want to get in the industry, just walk in and say, "I will recruit patients for you." It'll
Yep.
be on a per patient basis or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on board, and I did patient recruitment, and I'll tell you that is the
Wait,
most.
you did? You
Yeah,
did?
I did it at a
Explain,
previous
what,
company.
what did you do?
What we did, it was for a company I'm not going to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's just say we did patient recruitment.
It's a site?
No. So we would have people in the sites, and so what they would basically be like a study coordinator that would be dedicated just to that sponsor.
Ah.
And so that sponsor would be able to say, all right, we need this many people on
Was
screen.
sorry, I'm going to interrupt real quick.
You're fine.
Was somebody like a Curian or something like that?
Similar, very
Okay.
similar. Yeah,
Okay.
but it wasn't them.
Without naming
Right.
names,
No, no,
Akira-
it's just
if they're
well
on,
known.
if anybody's interested, they go to my LinkedIn and figure it out. But,
okay. I'm interested.
yeah. So, well, it's the same company that you didn't want to talk about that has IRBs and then conflicting media.
Ah.
know
And a
exactly what you're talking
conference, And a conference now. I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
so do I.
Yeah, everybody does. So no, but it was a very, very expensive proposition. The money that you can charge sites to, sponsors to basically ensure that
And
they're going to get a
that's
number.
what we wanted to talk
Yeah,
about.
Yeah.
Curian charges like $5,000 for a screen fail.
So we
Oh, I
did.
thought it'd be more than that.
Yeah, it might be. It's been a long time since we had this conversation with them.
There's a lot of perks to being a CRO, and now, hopefully after today, a sponsor. We get to talk to these vendors, whereas before, my first decade was all sites, right? So I knew the vendors, but they don't get paid by us. They get paid by the sponsors,
Right.
who finance the entire industry. As a CRO, we procured one of these companies, and it was ridiculous. It was beyond what we thought, what they charged, right? I mean, they're just spending so much money to get one patient
Yeah.
in a study.
Yeah.
So you have first-hand experience with this.
I do, and it's very, very, very lucrative. But it's also, to be fair, it's
For
expensive
them,
to support.
and costly for the pharma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it all goes back to our previous discussion
And it
about
comes
you
back
know,
to
the
us.
cost of
We're
drugs.
paying for our meds, right?
We are, and with a half dozen kids, I'm paying more than you guys are.
Yes,
And
you are.
so it's funny though, because you look at the model, and the model's defendable. It is. You can
Oh,
say
sure. Without
you
doubt.
can say, well, you've got an inside person who's dedicated to you.
Yeah.
You can call them. They're basically, you have a valet in the site, and so it's expensive, but it's worth it.
So did that model work out
Sure, absolutely.
for the site?
Yeah.
Did it produce results for the site?
It does. I mean, it varies by site. So
Yeah,
This is
you're
the
talking
first time
about
I'm hearing of this.
it's
They
about-
actually put somebody in the site.
yeah.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's hundreds of sites though, thousands. You're not talking about small studies.
Remember Soleil? They sent somebody to his site. It wasn't for recruitment.
Oh, it was a coordinator.
Right, but they send support staff of all different types often.
Yes. Okay. Wow. So that's how. So let's rewind. Who are you? What industries were you in before? And then we'll work into how you got into research.
All right, so Dan and I share an affinity for beer. I was in
Love beer. Hardest part of keto. We're both on keto. Giving up the beer. So Vodka Club. This is 100% keto friendly.
100%.
No carbs?
No
No
limes.
carbs. No carbs.
So so I was in beer and wine for 20 years. I was a Marine and went to Carolina, and then after I got out of school, I decided I was going to take over the world as a stockbroker. And I went to that. I told you to Google me earlier. If you
Yeah.
Google me, world's worst stockbroker might show up.
What?
Yeah, I was awful at it. So I just, because all I do is sit on the phone all day and sit inside. We talked about how I like to not ever be inside. And so wound up bartending, and then one night bartending in Atlanta, somebody said, hey, you have a great personality, you want to work for me? I'm like, I have a college degree, but no, I work 3 nights a week, I make a killing, and women treat me like a rock star. I have no desire to go work.
I've known a number of bartenders say the same thing.
Yeah, if it had benefits, I'd still be doing it. And so, but anyway, so long story short, I wound up taking that job, and then got on with Miller Brewing Company, and I was telling Chris earlier, did part of the Miller All-Star commercials. That was part of my remit.
Best commercials ever.
Yeah, they were great. And then moved over to
Corona. One
Corona.
of the best, but
So you were
digress.
behind these commercials, like the creative, or
Part of the creative and part of the
No kidding.
implementation of the vertical, how that translates into selling it. Like, so when you have Corona, which I worked with at following Miller Lite, we would go to Mexico and hire Latin soap stars and stuff like that. And so you'd be part of the vertical where you say, all right, vacation is the beach. How does that translate into moving boxes out the store? And so you have to say, all right, well, you have this, and then you see the flip flops in the store. Then you see the Jimmy Buffett concerts. That was a big part of my job, was going on all those shows. And so,
life is tough.
I know. I'd be the first one to tell you. That was a great industry. That's it. This is a great industry.
Who wants to be a CRA after listening to this?
Yeah, it was.
We're gonna have so many people going to beer.
Yeah, we're getting alcohol.
It's funny because and then as I moved on in my career, you wind up doing a lot. You get treated like a millionaire, but you don't make $1 million. You know, I mean, it's
You were
a
talking
great
about
life.
that earlier.
It's a great life.
So you were saying there's no comparison to clinical research and the income you can bring in compared to what you're doing before.
It's not even close. I recommend. I have a half dozen kids, and I am pushing the driven ones to be in this industry. Whether it be, I'm BD, so I prefer BD, but that BD is not everyone's speak. But
Right.
I think it's definitely there's so much money that it's almost like a cash grab. You talked about at lunch where the economy is so great right now. It is, and this business is just booming right now. And sooner or
We're in a
later,
biotech bubble.
and sooner or later, someone's going to figure out everyone's making so much money, this needs to stop. And I originally didn't go into pharmaceuticals out of college because I had a couple offers. I didn't do it because if you remember, that's when they started dialing back. No more entertaining, no more.
Yeah,
all this
Sunshine
other
Act and all
yeah,
that stuff.
exactly. And so I thought, you know what? That's gonna affect salaries. It still hasn't, and I don't know when the bubble hits, but
I don't think it will.
It
Right?
has
The Sunshine
to.
Act. I don't think the
Yeah.
Sunshine Act. I think they have to implement something else, right?
Yeah, but it has to.
Some president has to come along and say, you know what, we've got to reduce drug costs, and how we're going to do this, we're going to eliminate
Well, right
salaries.
now,
Limit
the
salaries.
answer is virtual trials. That's the answer.
I don't think that is the answer.
Well,
I just don't think it's possible.
People are living so
Personally.
long, and each person is getting so expensive. And I hate to put it like that,
Yeah.
but if you take it down to the
Oh, sure.
granularity of it,
Yeah.
we're getting expensive.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
doesn't cost much to get to 50,
right,
right? For an individual, but
yeah,
you hit that 60 mark, it starts getting a lot more expensive.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I'm not 60, but it
So,
does.
so our thesis is, we were talking about earlier, clinical research has a branding problem. However, these same 20 people I talked about earlier, if their doctor were to tell them, do you want to do a study? Much different responses as opposed to me going there and telling
Or
them.
not just do you want to, I think this would
I have
be
a
good.
stu- I
I think
have
this
a
would
study
benefit
for-
you.
Yes, I
I
have
think-
a study for
I
you.
think it's all perspective though, because a real good friend of mine works in a pediatric. I think you talked about it, a pediatric CRO in Durham, and their biggest problem is how do you go to somebody and say, hey, we use your kid for a study?
Right, those are tough.
Yeah, yeah. how do you-
Pediatrics different though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. A lot of it's different. Personally, if I had any kind of cancer, I'd pay you to get in the study. You would have to pay me.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, so it's kind of all perspective.
But the same thing with I think that's very similar with pediatric, right? So if you had a child that was sick with something, and your physician or the child's physician said, I think this drug very likely could not maybe cure your child, but could eliminate all symptoms, right? You could be very interested as a parent. I would.
But keep in mind, the studies I'm thinking of in particular, so you're talking about Enfamil, basically. So you're taking healthy kids.
No. Kids that are sick with something,
Yeah.
right? And there's limited treatment for whatever they're sick
Oh, I think a
with.
parent would do anything. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah, it'd be like oncology
Yeah, exactly.
in that sense.
Yeah.
So how did you get into clinical research?
So there's a very well-known gentleman named Zahir Alassi, If you haven't met him, I need to hook you up with him. Incredibly well connected to the point of every time I try to hire a BD, somehow his name comes up, and it's every time. Well
Who is this
connected.
guy?
He was with Merge. It was Kika before that. Now he was with. He's moved around a bit since he left. So I worked. Kind of get back. I guess bring it full circle. He was a chair of a charity, and I was donating wine to, and he met me and said,
Okay.
Hey, you seem like a cool guy, and you seem like you'd be great in this industry. You ever thought about doing something different? So I do what everybody would do, and I lied about my income, told him that, and then then he beat it. I said, okay, we're good.
Really?
And so
So you doubled
That does
it,
it.
and then he beat that.
yeah, I was all in. I was like, call. And so
That right there says a lot about the industry, by the way.
I
But go
agree.
ahead.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I was making good money. I was in a high level position. I was very happy. But anyway, he beat it, and then so then Merge got purchased by IBM. It was with Merge eClinical, which was a lot of people know what's it called? Our EDC systems, but or their EDC systems. But then IBM purchased, and I worked for Big Blue for like 5 months and just couldn't do it anymore. So about a year in, I was gone. And
So what were you doing there?
I was managing a small team, BDs, and then
You don't like managing people?
No, I love managing
Oh, you
people.
do.
I just don't like working with Big Blue. I mean, 400,000 people. My employee number was alphanumeric.
So what? So
I'm not
whatever.
kidding you. It's alphanumeric. 400,000 people.
So whatever happened to IBM Watson? Because that was supposed to change research.
It's great vaporware. They've kind of discontinued their life sciences division last I saw.
You see,
And
all these big idealistic things. And
keep in mind the
Few of them ever work.
Yeah, IBM has got deep pockets, and they had Bob Dylan commercials and all that, and you don't see those commercials anymore. And they're and the people they've sold to.
I haven't seen a Watson commercial in years.
And so they haven't executed against a lot of their signatures, from what I understand. If you're an IBM lawyer, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, go to
I
Chris.
understand. Yeah.
Sure. I like being sued.
You want to give his email?
No, he doesn't.
No. But what does that tell you about research? This episode, this example, with Watson's. I don't know if it's a failure, but
it's not a failure. I think research
Is it?
is research.
I don't think it is.
Well, because they'll never give it up. So is it a failure?
At this point in time.
Yeah.
At this point in
As
time.
we speak today in 2019, I think as we go forward, we'll see where it takes us. We have some AI being done, but our AI is different than what Watson's claiming to do. So, for example, we're doing things like when it comes to a protocol. I'm sorry, a PHI. We have ways to go ahead and
which is protected health information.
Yep.
For those watching.
And we're going.
Yeah.
I'm going to go off on a tangent. We're nowhere near true AI.
No,
Nowhere near.
No. That's like Tron, and we're like
Right.
Star Trek.
Long ways away from there.
Yeah, I agree. But we're doing a good job of redacting information using AI. We've got like 20,000 Anglo names in our system, and so when we get PHI, we just go ahead and we get patient information. We go ahead and just throw this redaction tool against it, and it goes and it pre-populates. It highlights everything they think is personal, and it takes it out.
Right.
So it's just that kind of AI is clever, and it's pretty smart.
So you got into research because of this guy. What was his name again?
Zahir Alassi. Everyone calls him Z.
And he.
I can see why.
I never heard. I need to follow this guy. I'm gonna look for him right now.
Zahir Alassi.
So after
I will put you
IBM,
guys
where
in
did you
touch.
go?
Went to work with Copernicus Group for a short while, and then
How was that?
and then I went to Bioclinica.
You skipped over the
I
Copernicus part.
get that. How was
Hey,
that?
the way you guys deftly avoided them in your book, I'm not
Really?
I'm not going down that road. Not
So they
unsafe.
just recently merged, right? They're the ones that merged with
Work.
Work.
Oh, they've been for a while.
Oh, okay.
Western
okay.
IB and Copernicus Group.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been WCJ for years.
Okay. So after that, you went to Bioclinica.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into Bioclinica?
The newly appointed CIO that was there, a guy named Gavin Nichols, who's another guy. If you don't know him, he's really well connected.
I don't think so. No.
He knew me and knew that I had a passion for technology and clinical trials, and knew I really like to lead people. I love sales management. I've been doing it for 20 years. So yeah, I had my first managing job at 30. And so I
Wow.
just really I really like that portion of the business. So
You know, there's a huge need for biz dev in this industry at any level.
Oh, yeah.
Sites,
yeah.
vendors, CROs, sponsors. We kind of touched upon this earlier in our last podcast. People in research tend to look down upon sales,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Are you getting this, dude?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the yin yang for me is always sales and marketing. You know, if we don't have sales, it's because marketing sucks. If we do have marketing, it's not good enough. You know, there's always a push pull of that. And as BD, you get kind of bulletproof to it because you know, especially as a manager, you know, I hear from every level, you know, oh, pricing and contracts doesn't work, operations isn't supporting us, R&D, we don't have the upgrades
Excuses.
people need. Yeah, it is, and I'm not. I don't know. I guess it's the old Marine in me. I'm not one for excuses. I just want to solve problems. My kids ask me what I do for a living. I'm like, solve problems. That's it. So remove excuses. That's about it. I mean, it's just BD is fantastic. I recommend it for anybody that has any kind of singular drive. It's great because this is my work office today.
Yeah.
And you work from home. But I put in. I'm not. I don't. Let me be very clear. I don't live to work. I'm not that guy. I work to live. But I do a lot more hours than I would like. But it's fulfilling because I think at the end of the day, I think we really are trying to help people.
Sure.
Maybe I naively believe that, but that's what keeps me kind of motivated.
So that brings us back to this theme, and I know you had a question. Do you want to?
Oh, I was just going to ask, of those companies you've worked with in research, and nobody from BioClinica is watching,
They're not.
who's the best? Who do you like working for the most?
Oh, and I'm not saying that because I'm there at BioClinica by a mile, and I'm not. And the reasons are I can help be a change agent there. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a position where I can affect change. If I could affect change at IBM, I'd still be there. You know, but I'd also be a gazillionaire.
Sure.
There's too many people there to affect change.
Right.
Merge
Much
was
ladder
great.
climbing necessary to get to that point at IBM.
Yeah, you literally have to climb over people to get to where you want to be.
Right.
Where I am now, affecting culture for me is important. My team knows that I'm all about team. This is where we meet as a team. We meet in places like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, BioClinica by a mile.
And when it comes to sales, I have another question.
Sure.
When it comes to sales, you think drive is the most important?
I
So I would say personality is the most important, right? Being able to communicate, being able to make somebody smile, understand
Yeah.
your position.
I'm a big Lou Holtz guy, I guess. I want to hire motivated people. I don't want to motivate people. And to me, it's a fact that if you don't watch somebody, they're not gonna go ahead.
So why I say that is because there's plenty of people that have drive, but they're not good at sales because they're embarrassed, they don't know how to approach a stranger, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have that too, at least some sort of ability to discuss whatever it is you're selling.
I think it depends on the person, because I know what you guys are trying to do a lot of is try to help people get into the industry, which I'm fully supportive of, and quite frankly why I'm sitting here. So for me, it depends. Your personality can fit anywhere. So one of my best salespeople is a young man that I put in a position that, like me, he's not even 30 yet, and he's managing people, and he's killing it. And if you met him on the street, you wouldn't say, "God, that guy he's a salesman." But for that role, he's perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think if I have guys that are going to sell on the phone. I have guys that sell in person. I have guys that just are salesmen, but they honestly just process paperwork between the client and us. So it really depends on that role. You can be BD, but you got to find the right role.
So I guess this is where I'm trying to get to. You have, say, a doctor at a site, or PI, it's their site, and they're not getting the type of studies they want, or the amount of studies they want. So they need to do some sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not comfortable with selling their site, right?
Or they're not naturally sales.
Exactly, they're not
Sure,
natural,
sure.
right? So you think drive's enough? You think, because they're driven, they want
Oh,
to
they're
succeed.
they're PI, they're driven.
Right, they want
I'll
to
go with
succeed.
that.
They need to hire somebody.
That's what I was going to say.
They need to hire
Okay.
us. They
But
need to
you're-
hire somebody internally.
But you're usually smart enough. If you're at that level, you're smart enough to realize you're what you're bad at. I'll be honest. What I'm bad at is I hate admin work because I like to be out and moving around and stuff. And so
Yeah, you're like him.
yeah, I got to keep moving. And
Right.
so I'm not good at admin. So I always hire people that I know that, hey, listen, as you're a salesperson, but I'm going to need some help with you on the admin end because I travel so much, and my admin is not around anymore. So it's that part's hard. I think you hire to your
Your weaknesses.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So this theme of why pharma or biotech, why the industry spends so much on clinical research. What do you think about that? Like, what's the reason? There's a lot of vendors. We talked about it earlier with patient recruitment. I think that's the number one. But after that, there's all these CROs. There's all these other vendors that send RFPs, requests for proposal. We've been through some of those. They always come back, okay, this is too high, and then there's a negotiation there. But why? I feel like there could be a much more efficient way to do clinical research.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't necessarily think virtual trials is the way to go. What do you think the solution is? How long have you been in this industry?
4 years.
4 years. So you know enough now about
Yeah. Well, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
No, I'll disagree with you on the virtual trials portion. I think any brick and mortar building is going to add, because you have just all the costs of owning a home. Okay. So imagine your family could live somewhere without paying for a house. That's a virtual trial. I mean, that's the parallel I'm going to draw. So I think there is some, and I know you guys own sites, and that proves I'm not being paid here. But
You're not paying him?
Hell no.
We got to do a call to action in fantasy football. We're all in. We have like 4 other people, so that's 6, right? 7.
Carry the one.
We need 5 more. 5 more people.
I got one. We got Janine.
Okay, Janine. So 4 more people. Guru Nation Fantasy Football.
What are we charging?
I was
100 what did we
16
say,
and
100 or 150? I forget.
I don't know. That's all you. He's the numbers guy.
Somewhere in that
I will
realm.
go 16-0 again.
Oh,
win
let's
another
take the
jersey.
bet. Let's take the bet.
The bet is
I'll take that bet again.
You gotta do keto for a
Happily,
year.
I'll take
A year.
a decade. A decade. I'll take the bet again.
Come back with like a
Not going
straw.
undefeated.
So as we wrap up, what did you ask?
Huh? What?
You
As
asked
we wrap
about,
up.
you were asking about virtual trials
Yes,
and
yes.
how do we bring the
So you
the
say
cost down.
you disagree.
I disagree. I think
Yeah.
virtual trials is the first start of that. I think it's just getting so out of hand. I mean, the insurance compared to the rest of the globe,
Yeah, but
I think it's a big.
It's more involved than just that, though, because the United States pays for the rest of the world, the pharmaceutical costs.
absolutely.
And they do. There would be research and development if it weren't that.
Yeah,
in the United
and I think
States.
it's a challenging topic because I think I don't know because it's kind of like where does the first thing stop? Like I was in beer and wine forever. It's a sin industry, and
Yeah.
you want to do things that people don't agree with. Drinking on Sundays in North Carolina only became legal like 15 years ago.
Really?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and then also, and then so the government had to threaten Louisiana because they refused to up the drinking age to 21 from 18. They're the last
Same
thing
with
to go.
Montana.
Yeah, well, they threatened them with they wouldn't give me more. They're like, fine, you can keep it, but until you change it, we're not giving you no highway funds.
Right.
So the point is that
Yeah,
it's kind of
same
like,
thing with Montana.
I want it to happen, but I don't want it to be at my expense. Like I
Yeah.
said, we make a good living out of this. So when those prices, when the costs go down, I'm gonna feel the effect somehow.
Well, there's gonna
hit
be
me
somebody
somehow.
that
Oh,
loses,
yeah.
but
Yeah, it's a trickle down.
Yep.
So 2 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fantasy football call to action, which we need 4 more people. Email me or Chris about this. Chris@brkthru.org.
Thank you.
2 more minutes. What's BioClinica doing right now
We're
for
doing
the
a
next
lot of,
decade? We're about to be in
Yeah.
2020.
Yep, we are, and so we've got a lot of exciting stuff happening. So we recommitted to. I gotta say this: we recommitted to all of our software, our technologies. We're very excited about those. For us, the most exciting thing is clinical adjudication, and
Yes,
we talked about that
Janine.
previously with Janine.
Yes, we're going to do another
And
interview with Janine.
I wish you would, and talk to her about fantasy football as well.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to continue with medical imaging. We've got pharmacovigilance going. And when you think of us, I always say we have an imaging problem because people always think about the biggest medical
absolutely.
imaging.
Yeah.
So please think of us for software and technologies. That's what we got.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for being on. It was a pleasure. We could easily do this another 3 hours.
Especially
Thank you for
here.
watching.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.